Good coaches ask good questions. And so you pointed to a question that I want to ask you, which is like, hey, what do you know about this topic? And the reason I asked that question is because that question is about me starting from where you are. So it's not about me, the coach, dumping a bunch of expertise on you. That's rarely ever helpful. Most people who need to lose weight, to stick with this example, don't really need to know anything about the nutritional biochemistry and the structure of carbohydrate molecules. It's just not helpful information, right? So I try to give people just a little bit, just enough to get them to take one step forward, or just to go from A to B or from B to C.
Welcome to the Coachability Code Podcast. This is your host, Jordan Ring. Coaches, you ready to be coached? Let's go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, Jordan, for another episode on this podcast. I am absolutely thrilled, honored, pumped, all of the adjectives to describe someone who is just full of joy for this conversation. I have Matt Fried with me. I think that's how you say the last name. Fried. Oh man, that's so bad that I didn't know how to say that. I've never said it.
Makes it better.
I've always just called you Matt, Coach Matt.
Yeah.
Never thought about your last name, but I saw it here. Like, oh man. Okay, so Matt Fried. I didn't mess up the first thing. This is great. Okay, I have Coach Matt on the podcast with me here. If you want to just introduce yourself briefly, Matt, and then we'll jump into some icebreakers.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. I'm really honored to be here. And I've been getting that mispronunciation since I was in second grade. So
yeah, okay. You're used to it. Okay.
I'm well used to it. Yeah, so I'm Matt Fried. Sometimes I go by the name Coach Matt, and I'm here and I'm honored to be here. I'm a health and nutrition and fitness coach.
Awesome. Okay, Matt. So favorite book, favorite movie, and a weird thing about you that not everybody knows. And you do not have to pick one of the favorite book or movie. More than welcome to name a couple, or just like one of your top 10 is also fine too. Some people get weird about that and get too pressured. So that's why I'm saying that.
No, it's all good. I mean, look, the favorite book thing, I've been asked this question before, and like we could do a whole podcast on it. It's almost unfair to, you see behind me, like, and I know you're an author and you see the bookshelf behind me. So you have to, like, it's so hard to pick one. It's almost impossible to pick one in each category, but just to speed things up, you're making me only say one. So I'll answer this way. I can't say just one. So this is my answer for
that's fair.
The book that was the most influential on my life was The Icarus Deception by Seth Godin. And we could dive into why, but then my other favorite book that I have to just put for pleasure would probably be, I'm a big fan of the Three Body Problem trilogy, which is a sci-fi trilogy by Cixin Liu, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I read many genres. So those are two that I'll mention. Favorite movie.
Cool.
Favorite movie. I'd probably say Braveheart for that. And I probably should scream. I should probably yell a big scream.
Yeah.
Just to say what. And then one weird thing about me.
Yep.
Is that what the third part was?
That's the third one. Yep.
Oh man, there are so many. I mean, my wife thinks and kids think I'm the weirdest guy in the world. So, I mean, I'm sitting on a ball right now as opposed to a chair. Another weird thing about me is that, I actually have very sweaty hands, which is not really a weird thing, but it's just something that I've had to deal. This is just what comes to mind for me at the moment on this question. So that's something that I've had to walk through life, literally shaking people's hands, often when they're sweating.
You're like,
especially if it's warm in the room or if I'm tense or nervous, even just a little bit. So I'll share that with the audience to let you know that, just to know that no matter how someone looks on the outside, and I know I'm an attractive and fit guy, we all have little things about us that are weird and maybe that we're uncomfortable with. So I'll share that.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. It's good to know that in general, and good to be aware of like what yours are. What am I about myself? Am I uncomfortable with? I'll share a weird thing about me is that I have a hole in my left eardrum, and I have never, this is not true. I have been under the water, but I cannot swim under the water because I can't have water go in this ear, or I'll get an ear infection. Like it'll kind of go down and then it's very strange. Yeah. So I can swim, but I can't swim under the water.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So when's the last time you actually went underwater? Must have been a little kid.
It was when I know I was an adult. I was at my friend's pool party and he put me under the water and I almost died.
Whew.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like it wasn't a big deal, but like I'd never gone on like before that. I think it was when I was a kid.
Huh.
And yeah, I didn't close my mouth, didn't close my nose or anything when I went under and I just sucked in a bunch of water because I don't know what to do in that situation. So yeah, scary.
Nice.
So if we're
I'm
ever
starting to
together
think
at a
about
pool party, don't dunk me.
yeah, please don't Doug Jordan. Yeah.
And don't
No.
shake Matt's hands.
No, we can.
You shared very briefly, but if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey Matt, what do you do?" How do you answer that?
Yeah, sure. I help people get fit, and specifically I focus on men and women who are in their 40s. That's like the simplest language I can use about it, but obviously I could talk about that all day and we could go deeper. But that's the way most people understand it. I help people who need to lose weight, lose fat, and get fit.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
say those are also the primary reason like someone seeks out your services. So yeah, because I always
Yes.
talk about this with their coaches, like someone's not coming to me just because like, oh, I thought I woke up one day and I was like, I want a book coach. No, they come to me because they're lost and struggling and don't know how to move to the next step. So like, do you find that that's similar with you?
Yeah, 100%. So it's the way I would respond is that most people don't wake up. Some people wake up and say, I need to lose weight, and then they look for a coach. But more often than
Yeah.
not, it's more like people know they need to, like, say, lose weight. And maybe they've tried many diets or other things or quick fixes. And sadly, a lot of times those things don't work. But then, like, so then the frustration can build up over months or years, usually years. And then there are like all these little things that happen to people from day to day, little and big things, right? Little things like I'm sick of not being able to like see over my belt line for the last
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
or like I couldn't run and chase my own kid or run up a flight of stairs without losing my breath. There's so many, it's like an infinite list of things. But ultimately, at some point, those are the real reasons why people reach out to me for help. And that's also the same reason why the first question I always ask everybody who I ever get on the phone with is, hey, Jordan, or hey, so and so, I would love to hear in your own words, why are we on this phone call right now? Because those words are never just, I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
They always tell a much deeper story.
Yeah. And I will verify that. I think we'll come right out and say it to the audience listening to this. Like last year, I was struggling with weight that I had gained after an ankle surgery, and I reached out to you, and I was feeling a lot of those same things. And I was feeling like, oh man, I'm stuck. I don't know how to do this. And I didn't go years, luckily. I had the sense and the awareness to say, okay, I've been trying this for a few months on my own, and the things I'm doing are not working. So I need help. And wouldn't say I was like totally stuck, but I was feeling a little bit lost in a sense of, okay, yeah, these things that I've tried before and have worked before, they're not cutting it anymore. What's the reason for this? I need help. So I reached out to you and man, had so much success with going through your coaching program. I lost over 30 pounds. And I remember the last thing I said to you, or one of the last things I said after that success period was, Matt, I feel very confident that I can keep it off. Something like that. It was some
Yeah,
line like that.
it's like the highest compliment that I could possibly be paid for the work that I do, which is to help people lose weight and keep it off. Because if we don't have the and keep it off, then what do we have? We're back in the beginning. So it's
Yeah.
so thank you, Jordan. But you really have yourself to thank. Of course, I was part of the process and I was your guide on the side and your coach. But your level of self-awareness that you started that comment with was very high, is and always has been very high. And it's most people don't know. There's a very small number of people that actually know, or maybe they know underneath, but they're not quite ready to admit it and raise their hand and ask for help. But most people are just not ready to say, I need help with this.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I totally understand. In fact, it's very, that's why this could go many different ways, but like most coaches like advertise themselves through creating content on social media, right? So when you're doing that as a coach, if you're in the weight loss or nutrition or fitness business, there are some people who like, well, there's many different ways you can go about it, but it's a delicate subject is what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah.
I try, at least in my approach, to make people feel comfortable, because it is not easy to raise your hand and say, I need help with this.
And I love that question, even thinking about carrying it over to what I do. And I'm sure other coaches could benefit from that as well. Like having that be, it just shows that you care right away. I feel like it shows so many things. It shows that you care. It shows that you're willing to listen to why they're there. And it shows again that you're going to work from that instead of you coming in and saying, Jordan, you're going to do my process and that's it. Right. Like with no input from you. Would that really work? No, like that's not going to work in any kind of coaching program. I would guess.
No, the success rates long term are very low there, right? So, what you're talking about is something called client-centered coaching. The name is pretty self-explanatory there, right? So yes, and there are most programs out there for weight loss are not client-centered. They're a manual. This is essentially the reason why most diets don't work. Okay, and you can look at the data. Anyone who's listening to this can look up the data. The numbers are staggering, right? So why don't most diets work? Well, it's because there is no one diet for everyone. So what happens is that if you want to try a diet, and I have done and coached several diets, and there are books about some of them on my wall behind me, but I prefer to pull the pieces of those diets that work best for me and keep those for me and discard the rest. And that's how I coach people like you and others to do the same. So the problem with hearing, oh, my friend Larry did the keto diet and he lost 30 pounds. So now Joe thinks he should go do the keto diet and lose 30 pounds. There's a couple of problems with that approach. And you could insert any diet blank, fill in the blank for keto. It's that everybody's different. There's a theory called bio-individuality. It's not a theory, it's the truth.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with diets is, listen, this is a really, really, really big topic, but I'll try to say this as concisely as I can. When a diet becomes popular, usually what has happened is it has worked for a small group of people, but there's also a large group of people that it doesn't work for or that they can't stick to it. But you don't hear about that other large group of people in the book or in the social media posts.
No. Yeah.
That's the fundamental issue there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. So best student ever and why?
Okay. Well, hopefully the audience doesn't think I'm buttering you up too much here, Jordan, but
they can think that. It's fine.
You really are my best ever student. You really are. I can honestly say that. I've had other clients who, I mean, we could call it a tie with the handful of other people perhaps, but you really exemplified what the best kind of client can be. And that's not for me. That's for you, for the clients, for the people listening who might be clients. It's not for me. It's not that I want the best client. I don't expect that every client is going to come to the table, I don't know, ready to crush it all the time. That's not what I'm trying to say here. You asked me who was your best client, and it's the person, which you were an exemplary pillar of, who is open and ready to listen and be patient and trust the process and is open to trying new things. Everyone is doing the best they can with where they are and what they've got. So not everyone is as self-aware and as malleable as you are or were, Jordan, or are. And that's okay. And I can work with anyone, depending no matter where they are. That's what we're talking about, meeting people where they are. But as long as they just have a little bit of, I mean, you had a lot of faith in the process, but if a client can come to any program of any kind, I hope, at least I could speak from my own experience with health, with a little bit of faith in the process and trust and some patience, then they're in a good place. I hope that was a good answer to your question.
No, and I think it's great. I mean, I appreciate you saying that. And I think that's how, and I knew that going in. And it's such an interesting balance I found of being confident in yourself and being aware, and having on the same hand, and I can't do this alone and I'm stuck. And I think that's where coaching is so fascinating to me, because you're going to get the most benefit if you're coming to it from that point. But it's also a very difficult point to get to without coaching, without getting that certain level of awareness in yourself. Like if I hadn't been coached on other things in the past, like just learning how to play paddle. I've taken a lot of lessons the last couple of years. And paddle, for those that don't know, probably listening to the show, a mix between squash and tennis. Fantastic game. I'm addicted. But I've really enjoyed the lessons with that, and it's helped me. Taking lessons on anything helps you realize more about yourself. You become more self-aware. So all that to say, I just think the more you can come in as like a student into those things, even if you are a coach, even if you do these things yourself, realizing that you can be a student in other things too. I'll share. I remember one of our first calls. You were talking about macros, and you're like, "Oh, Jordan, I don't know what you know about this." And I was honest. I said, just tell me what you know because I don't know anything." And like
Hmm.
I'd heard people talk about macros before, but I wasn't going to come in with any kind of pride in that case of like, oh, Matt's going to be disappointed in me or he's going to think I'm an idiot if I don't know what these are. It's like, it's so much better to come in with the perspective of, okay, I'm not the expert in this. Let's let the person that I hired to be my coach talk to me. And also like, yeah, just, I think it's so interesting thinking about how to trust the process. Right. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah. That's well said. And then to build on that, I would add this. Good coaches ask good questions. And so you pointed to a question that I want to ask you, which is like, hey, what do you know about this topic? And the reason I asked that question is because that question is about me starting from where you are. So
Yep. Yep.
it's not about me, the coach, dumping a bunch of expertise on you. That's rarely ever helpful. Most people who need to lose weight, to stick with this example, don't really need to know anything about the nutritional biochemistry and the structure of carbohydrate at
Yep.
molecules. It's just not helpful information, right? So I try to give people just a little bit, just enough to get them to take one step forward or just to go from A to B or from B to C. I usually ask questions like that so that I can, even though I love to talk, hopefully not talk too much. It's about helping
Yeah.
you, not showing off whatever I acknowledge I have.
Yeah. The reverse of this question I like to ask, talk about a
Sure.
time, if you're willing to, talk about a time where a client or someone you were coaching just frustrated the hell out of you and you were like, you wanted to kind of shake them. I've had these experiences with people I've worked with where I'm like, oh, if you just did this, if you just listened to me, if you just trusted the process or whatever. Yeah, I'm curious of curious about the story in that case, and then also, of course, how you dealt with it as a coach.
Sure. I'm sure I have been frustrated at some point. I've been coaching a long time. Maybe eight is 2015 is when I started. So we're getting about 8 years. Almost 10 years, right? No,
Yeah,
2017. So about 8 years, 2017. So I'm sure there were times that I was frustrated, and I'll think of one as I give you the rest of this response.
yeah.
But actually, though, Jordan, because I of a few things that I practice daily and regularly, I typically don't get frustrated, and I'll explain. One, when I was younger, I was highly frustratable, easily
Hmm.
frustrated,
Hmm.
right? So I have a long history with being hot tempered, but
Yeah.
I've worked on a lot of inner work and for the most part, gotten through that. So I practice a lot. I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of inner work and stuff like that. And so I'm pretty good at being not judgmental and responding rather than reacting to things. That's
Hmm.
one. Then another part of this is, as in my opinion, as a coach, it's not about me, the coach. It's not about the coach. Okay. It's about the client, as we said before. So one of my coaches, Russell Grant, who you may want to talk to,
Okay.
he's full of these one-liners that are like knock your socks off, but they're true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing that he always says is, I'm responsible to you, but not for you. In other words,
That
Jordan,
is
like,
brilliant.
yeah, and he says it all the time. And it's like, Jordan, look, if I were to give you, if we were to have a meeting and we agree that you're going to do a certain task and then you don't do it, I'm responsible to check in on you to
Yeah.
find out why, but I can't actually do the thing. I can't heat the food for you. Right.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't be frustrated by you not eating the food that we discussed. But what I should do is figure out, did I deliver the message clearly enough? Did I make it simple enough? Did I make it attainable enough for you to do? Did I do
Hmm.
everything that I could do to help you do that? And if I did, then I've been responsible to you and I'm good. So that kind of takes the frustration out of it, if that makes sense. Now, with that said, I've certainly had difficult clients over the years, but it's also part of our job as coaches to be ready to deal. If someone comes
Hmm.
to you for help with weight loss, that's a very serious issue. Their health is at stake.
Yeah.
I can think of a guy now to give you more of a story to answer your question, and then I'll shut up. I know I've been talking a lot.
Nope. You keep going. You keep going.
I've had clients come to me. I've had two in mind that are very similar. I won't even say the sex, who were very obese, and both needed a lot of help. and they had certain ideas about what they were in their mind about what they were willing to do and what they were not willing to do. But there was a lot of resistance in each case.
Hmm.
And neither one of them was really willing to change really at all. One
Hmm.
I'm thinking of was like basically not willing to change at all. So
Hmm.
he exited the program very quickly. And the other stuck with me for a little while, but really was only willing to do things a certain way. And I was okay with that in that case. So I didn't let that frustrate me. I
Hmm.
just listen, so and so, if that's the way that you want to do things, okay, I will support you. And I want to let you know how I think about this and what you
Yep.
might want to consider. And I just left it at that because I can't. Does that make sense? So I don't know, Jordan. I guess there's not really a if. I mean, I'm a human being. I get frustrated, but this is a professional relationship, and our frustration as coaches really doesn't belong in the equation, in my opinion.
No, okay, that's a great answer. And it just made me think of a specific time. It wasn't a frustration thing, but it was you told me, "Hey Jordan, if you want to get to this certain point, ordering food this amount of times per week is going to clash with your goals here." And I thought that was such a great way of sharing it. And not in terms of Jordan, you're doing the wrong thing, but bringing it back to the coachee, my goals, and saying, from your perspective, these things don't line up. And if you don't make a change, that's fine. And like you may not be able to reach your goals if that's going to be something you do consistently. So,
That's right. That's
yeah.
exactly right. Yeah, it's like perfect, right? You don't want to eat these foods this week? Perfect. You must have a good reason for that. Maybe it's just that you're just not ready to do it. Well, that's where you are right now. Maybe I can help nudge you forward a little bit. It's only you have to be there's a saying that I learned at Precision Nutrition, which is that the client has to be ready, willing, and able. And those are three separate and distinct things. And if they don't have one of those things, they're probably not going to do it. And the listeners can figure out they know everyone knows what ready, willing, and able means. I'll just add that when we think about them in the context of nutrition and fitness coaching and weight loss, or it could be weight gain in some cases, but in health coaching, if you're not on a scale of 1 to 10, as you may recall, I use the 1 to 10. I use it at the end of every session. If there's a task that needs to be done, I almost always ask the client, how ready, willing, and able are
Yeah.
you on a scale of 1 to 10 to do this thing that we just discussed? And if it's not a 9, we're probably going to make a tweak.
Yeah.
If it's a 5, that's like meh. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We say you want to go to the gym 3 times a week, but you're really only ready, like honestly, as a 5. Well, then you're not gonna go. So let's make it 1 time a week. Oh, well, that's a 9. Great.
Yeah. And I'll share again, like, honestly, you told that line so well. And I asked the question about best and worst because it's for me thinking of how do you balance it and balance it and also think about it from your own perspective as a coach between, okay, this person is really taking the ball and running with it versus like this person is really not getting a whole lot out of what I'm sharing. I think some coaches can feel so much responsibility for those people that are struggling with that it becomes difficult for them to like you had a very good logical way of reasoning that. So, have I done everything? Have I been present as a coach? Have I done everything that I could possibly do to help that person? But still, it still hurts when that person can't succeed, right? Because you're like, I really, because we all of us as coaches, like we want to help people. I think that's a generally applicable statement, and it hurts when we can't or aren't able to in those cases.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Like I feel I don't this is the way I would say it actually. I think that if somebody needs to lose weight and let's say we're working together and like we come up with a task for the week, if a person did everything that we agreed that they should do and then the needle didn't move, maybe they didn't lose weight that month, right?
Hmm.
Most likely what's going to happen there is I'm just going to extend their program because that's something that I may have need more time or need to make an adjustment on. But if they didn't do what we agreed to do for that whole month and they didn't make any progress, then that's not something that's gonna I need to obviously I don't let somebody go a whole month without finding out that they're not doing the test, but
Yeah.
they just might not be ready or for that task. And maybe that task needs to be dialed back and made more simple. Yeah.
Do you find that people are generally open and honest with you, or do you find that some people struggle to share those? Because I know that's like I feel like this is very specific to the weight loss because it's such a personal goal and personal endeavor, and there's so many factors. But yeah, And so for me, it was always, and I think it was, and I'll attribute this to the way you coached. It was always very easy for me to share. Okay, Matt, I did this. Also, I didn't do this. There were things I didn't do, and I shared those with you. But I know that's not easy for people, especially on such a personal thing like this. So that's why I asked the question: have you found that it's hard for people to share if they've failed, even if it's not necessarily a failure?
Yeah. I almost never use that word, but
Yeah, yeah. You
because
failed your
actually
task. Yeah,
I actually never use that word because I have a saying that's not my saying, but there is no failure. There's only feedback.
yeah, yeah.
So that's in line with what we've been saying, right? So if you didn't do a certain task, that's not a failure at all. That's feedback. That's good, right? Jocko Willing says good to everything. Good. So you got shot in the leg. Good. So you forgot to do your chores today. Good. Okay. What does he mean by that? He means there is no failure. There's only feedback, and we can learn something from that. Now, to answer your question, is it hard for people to be honest? Sometimes, yes, it is. I do my best. I work very hard, as you said, and I think I'm pretty good at it to create a safe. Big part of coaching is creating a safe space, a safe container for us to, even in groups, for people to share and not be judged. So non-judgment, big part of my process. I don't think I've ever told anyone that that's bad or bad job or whatever, or like pointed a finger, because that's not the role of a coach. Now, even though I do my best to make our environment safe and private, still people are sometimes afraid. It's a fear thing. They're afraid to say, I didn't do what we agreed to, or they feel like they're letting me down, or they feel like they're letting themselves down. And so, and you typically the way that I know that someone is not sharing something is that I don't hear from them. Like I have checking systems, and like if they don't answer me, usually it's a lot of people will, not a lot, but some people will ghost, right? They won't answer. And if I haven't heard from you for a week, like I know, I hope everything's okay, but usually I know that you've gone off the plan a little bit, which is okay with me. Let's just talk and like,
Yeah.
so I welcome everybody to check in with me with open arms, no matter whether things have been going well or poorly.
And that welcoming. So yeah, would you say that's part of how you've created that environment of trust? I'm just thinking of like, what have you done because I mean, I felt that with you right away. And I think that is testament to you and the work you've done. But I'm just curious, what have you done to make sure that people feel that way with you when they're first working with you?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's definitely a big part of who I am. I think it's just a big part of who I've always been, being empathetic, being a good listener. We mentioned earlier on the call, like silence, like sometimes you just need as a coach to shut up and listen and just let people talk. And they will share things with you. So the other thing you asked, what have I done? I mean, going back to some of the books on the wall, like there's a skill. There's definitely a skill that, like, listen, Seth Godin, who is the author of the book I mentioned at the beginning of the call, and many of the other books you see back there, talks about this all the time. Soft skills are real skills. Okay. So empathy,
Absolutely.
being a good listener, being able to embrace tension. Those are real skills. And he and many others have written many good books and done many good courses on this topic. Another one book that I'll throw in there for the listeners who are interested in what we're discussing that's about this is Nonviolent Communication by Waylon Myers. Okay. And that is a tiny book that's literally like, I think I maybe lent it out to someone, so I don't have it behind me. So I can't show the audience right now, but it's literally like it fits in your pocket. Okay.
Yeah.
It will change your life. It will change your life. It will change your life. And it's not just for coaches, right? So like he begins that book by pointing out that everyone is afraid. And so it's like in a conversation, right? If you have two people who are here, right? Whenever somebody says something to you, that's especially if it's something that's like angry or negative, right? That's coming generally from a place of fear. So if you can find a way to acknowledge that and let them know that you're not here to hurt them, then things can come a little bit closer together. And that's what it's all about.
No, I love that. I have not read that book, but I definitely want to.
It's a good book.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I asked that icebreaker question. I put icebreaker in quotes because I want to get and see what other people are reading because I am obsessed with books, but everyone that knows me already knows that, so we won't dive into that too much. But all right, Matt. So
it's a good session to have.
Yeah, hey, I like it. It works. My whole life is about books. I write books. I wake up and I read books. Then I go to work and I write books. And then I do some more writing. And then I do some more reading. I go on a walk. I listen to a book. Yeah. blah, blah, blah. Life's about books.
Well, there's another weird thing about me. I don't think it's so weird, but I carry a physical book and a pen and paper or a pad and paper with me everywhere I go.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I have a phone too, but I don't like reading things on digital. I like physical.
We'll say I don't like reading things on my phone, but I like the Kindle because I can read it in bed with all the lights off because it has its
Right.
own lighting thing. So
Right.
it does have
True.
some benefits, but I like reading on the Kindle. It's good.
I'll be
But
46 this year. Maybe I'll request to finally get a Kindle for my birthday.
yeah, nice. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, someone graduates from your coaching program. What qualities do they possess that help them get to that point where you felt like, okay, hey, you're ready to go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, when someone is ready to graduate from my program, which is a word I use, generally the way I would describe it is they have confidence. And it's not that I've given them that confidence, but it's more that they've learned how to be confident in themselves. And I've helped with that process.
Mm-hmm.
And so in food, it's a very easy example. One of the questions I get asked every day, multiple times a day, should I eat this or should I eat that? Is this apple? I don't have any food on the desk. I have two rocks here, but is this good
Yeah.
or is this bad? Is this apple
Yeah.
good or is this apple bad? Or this or whatever. So my style of teaching, I'll often in the beginning give them my answer, yes or no. Here's what I think about that thing. But I'll always wrap that in context of explaining how I think about that and how so that they can transfer that thinking over to themselves and learn how to think about that for themselves. So ultimately, it's all I'm wrapping this up in the word of confidence. But the truth of the matter is, Jordan, you know, the answers to this is something I'm sure I've said to you before, and any client who works with me for any length of time, this always comes up. The answers are already inside of you, right?
Yeah.
Usually I hear those answers in the questions that you ask. It's just my job is to kind of help dig them out. Basically, what I'm saying is I teach you to be comfortable with learning how to solve these problems and answer these questions on your own. So instead of having to wonder when you go to the supermarket, should I buy this bar or that bar? What does Matt think? It's better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's a good way to think about which bars are better for me. And now I can make the decision on my own.
Yeah. And I think so. This next question, I feel like relates to that, and it definitely relates to some of the stuff we've already been talking about. But if you get to the point where you think as a coach, oh, okay, it's time for me to kind of pop in there and slide in there and give some feedback, even if it's feedback that the person may not want to hear, how do you go about that?
Good question. Yes, so we touched it in several ways on this already, like making a safe space, understanding that people are usually afraid of things like negative feedback. But as I said, there is no I'm not like naive, and yes, I'm an optimist,
Yeah.
but I'm not naive to think that I am aware that things are negative and can feel scary. So there is a way to give feedback that's wrapped in a container of safety and has no judgment in that container, and the judgment has been removed. It's usually being direct with the problem and soft with the person is another way to say it.
I like that. Yeah.
Yep. And so it's like this. Typically, someone will come to me and say, "I was really bad this weekend. I went way overboard." Like that's a common thing, and I will right away say, no, Jordan, no, Larry, no, Jill, you're not bad at all. Instead, say this to yourself: I made some poor decisions this weekend, or I could have made better decisions this weekend. And you see the difference there is like the language flip. It's taking the judgment, the self-judgment out, and it's just focusing on the behavior and the choices at hand. Yeah, I mean, I would be a horrible coach if someone came to me and said, Matt, I was really bad this weekend. I ate a ton of junk and drank a ton of beer. And I said, yeah, you're right. That was terrible. Like that would just be like driving the nail in the coffin on the person's own self-judgment. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you suck.
yeah. So no, you didn't make some great choices. There are probably some reasons why. Maybe you were tempted. Maybe you were in a bad environment. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. And I think I will share that mindset switch and those questions really helped me. Because I was just thinking about even recently having a July 4th party. And yeah, there's normally more food, there's more drinking. We had people come over. And it's just like making the intentional choice that like I'm going to have certain foods and I'm going to drink certain drinks at this time. And then when I got on the scale the next week, yeah, I went up a bit, but it was such an intentional thing of like, okay, I went up a bit. The amount I went up is fine. I'm not losing progress. I made that decision and that was fine for me. And realizing also, okay, I can't have the same exact week multiple weeks in a row if I want to continue making progress. Because if I do, then I'm going to go up. It's like the longer term and really, really thinking of the longer term questions and not beating yourself up if you have a bad weekend or if you struggled during the holiday times. But yeah, you really helped me with that mindset and helped me figure out, okay, how do I navigate the holiday times? Because you get to the point where at the end of the year, you're in holiday times all the time. You need to figure out how to deal with that. It can't just be something that you're like, oh, I'll deal with it after the holidays, because then you're going to have more of an issue to deal with. So, but yeah, that was super helpful to me. There's so much benefit you can gain from thinking in a different mindset. And yeah, and I know the coaches know this, but I think it's good for us to think about from different perspectives and different, like, yeah, me as a book coach, you as a health coach, I'm having other sales coaches on this podcast and thinking about what are the things that kind of mash up between those. And I think that's one of them.
100%. And I'm not a sales coach or a financial coach or any other, but I bet that this applies. I can tell you this in fitness, what you just described, that's why it's an important job for the coach, probably in any domain, but for sure in fitness, to help the client see the long-term picture clearly. And that's why that lesson that you had touched on just now, which I called the weight window, and it was that graph. And it's like, so it's just like, if you think that everything is going to be linear, it's not, right? And so you have to show people that weight loss is not, in terms of weight loss, it's just not going to go down every day. It's just not the way your body works. It's not the way life works, and it's not supposed to be that way. But I think many people think that that's how it's supposed to be, and they actually want it to be that way, which is a double-edged sword. Not only do they think that's how it should be, then that's their expectation. So I try to not chop those expectations down right away. You can totally lose weight, but it's going to be a little bit more of a squiggly line than a straight line. And that probably applies to other domains as well.
Yeah, and I think too, right, that's the marker of a good coach, someone that sees those areas and aspects that the person coming in doesn't see. I'd never thought about that before as someone that needed help with that. And I think it's those cool things you can do as a coach that kind of give people a different way of thinking about certain subjects that can be so powerful and also very fulfilling too when something like that clicks, right?
100%. And that's really why it's almost a good circle back to the initial question you asked me, what do I do? And I could say that what I do is I help change the way people think about fitness because that's really what I do. But I just don't lead with that usually, because that's just like it doesn't click for most people. But the reality is that most people already know which foods are healthy. You don't need me to tell you that like vegetables and fruits are healthy. Like everyone knows that. What you need most likely is to figure out why you're not eating them and how maybe to change the way you think about what you're doing every day. So that's why most of the time I've said this many times, I think something like is my best guess, like 80%, maybe 70% or of the time I spend talking to people, it's about behavior change, not about macronutrients or calories or nutritional biochemistry. We're just spending more time talking about life and behavior change.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So this is kind of a side question, but I like to ask it because I know that coaches, they do care about this and they're thinking about it. So in terms of growing and even just building your coaching business, what has been successful for you in the long term, and maybe even recently too?
Sure. The first thing that came to mind, what has not been successful is jumping from thing to thing, right? So if you're trying to grow a business, you kind of got to like pick one or two things and stick to them.
Yeah.
So one thing that I love that I've been doing for it's been about a year, has been growing a community. And I'm just big on I love people, and I love working with people one-on-one, of course, but I love having a community. So I have a remote community that people can join, and I'm in there and there's other people in there. And then when we have a place where we can be supported by not just me, but others, that's something that I'm really proud of and I think is very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's because that's like you're giving back in a community kind of way. So you can kind of expand your time. And yeah, and I'm a part of that community. Love it. We'll put a link to it below. Well, not below, but in the show notes for this podcast, we'll drop a link there. And then I think you said anyone could just sign up and join. Is it free to join, or are there any
It,
barriers? Or
no, there's no barrier other than a few clicks of the mouse. It's completely
okay,
free.
cool,
Yeah.
cool.
So,
All right, Matt.
but
Yeah, your soapbox. It's your opportunity to stand on it. Share with us something about coaching, something about life. What's got you feeling passion lately? And let's talk about it. I'd love to.
okay. Well, we did. I mean, coaching is very, but I'll give you an answer better than that. But
That's good. That's an okay answer too.
we did. Because we touched on it. I hope it came through, but I am very passionate about helping people change. So most recently, I'll say this notion of being fit over 40 is what's got me really excited. I mean, I'm 45, so I've been over 40 for 5 years now, almost 6, and I'm in the best shape of my life for sure. And actually, I can see I still have a long way to go in terms of a lot more growth I can do. And so I know, because most of my peers are around the same age as me, they're in their 40s. I know that there are a lot of people that need help with this, and I know that it's possible. And so just dialing in on that community of people who are 40 and up, or yeah, there's one or two people in the community who are in their 30s, but they're approaching 40. But the point is that
Close.
right. The point is that it's not too late. Like, you don't have to, if you are stuck on the couch and overweight or even obese, like that can change pretty quick. And I'm very excited about that, because you can really turn your health around. I mean, I could talk about this for another hour, but like what we're talking about here is you, the listener, having more time with your wife or husband and kids, and quality time, being able to run and play with them and do whatever it is that you want to do, even in your 50s and 60s and 70s. So I'm just very excited about the whole project of being fit over 40.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think like your passion absolutely comes through. And I'm gonna ask like where people can find you, but I'm gonna give you a plug because I've worked with you. And obviously I was excited about having you on, but you changed my life, man. Like 100%, absolutely. Like you came and worked with me at a time where I needed it. I needed the help, the assistance. And now after going through that, we become friends. And I think that is super cool, and not something that I believed necessarily would be possible after a coaching. I always viewed like coaching relationships and like working relationships as kind of separate, like work friends, like home friends. I never saw that gap bridge. You helped me kind of change my perspective on that too. And I thought that was pretty cool. But like, yeah, I gained so much from working together. So I think any coach listening to this that is a business coach, sales coach, any kind of modality, and is looking to upgrade and change their personal health, reach out to Matt. And where can they do that, Matt?
I really appreciate that, Jordan. Thank you. That means a lot. I'm going to answer that question too. And I just have to build on that a little bit more. Do we have like 2 more minutes?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
We have plenty of time.
Okay. So, because I didn't want to leave that a very important point, because this is a call about coaching as well. It is possible, and I imagine this can be true in other domains, but I can tell you when it comes to health and fitness, it's a very personal topic. And so when I get on calls with people, and when I get into a coach-client relationship with people, and sometimes that can be a 3, a 6, even a 12-month thing, sometimes more, we're going to talk about their life and details. And a lot of that is it's 100% confidential when you're working with me. But the point is that you need to really get to know the person. And so yes, there are professional boundaries, of course, and there is an exchange of money for that kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that you can't be friends with the person. I mean, not all clients will become friends, but some will. And there are people that you can become quite close with. I've told clients, I've said I love you to clients more than once, and I mean it. It doesn't mean I love you like a spouse or a family member. That's different. There's different kinds of love, but like that can come out. Some coaches might disagree with that and might be very uncomfortable hearing that, but I'm not. And yeah. So I love you, Jordan.
Yeah, I love you too, man. Like it's like life change, and I totally agree with that. And I think, and like I said, like even a year or two ago, just thinking about those relationships, it was more like not transactional, but I just hadn't experienced that, like working with someone, and it was just maybe it was just a unique thing that unique for me to go through that. Like, and like you said, you had to ask questions and we had to talk about things because I knew that coming into it, I had to be open about life and my habits and everything, because it all matters when it comes to health.
And not every relationship will be that, and that's okay too. You can have great success in a coach-client relationship and you don't always need to get that emotional, but sometimes it happens naturally.
Yeah.
And then to answer your question was, it's very simple. I am at Coach Matt Freed, all one word, on all social media channels. And then if people are interested, they can, all the links, this link is in every bio I have, but also the community I mentioned is at Skool. That's SKOOL, school with a K, .com/vitality. That's the URL for my community. And we'll link to all this stuff, but that's where they can find me.
Perfect. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience or anything else? I mean, you got on your soapbox, so that's good, but is there anything else that you want to share with everyone?
I mean, you gave me a long 1 hour or so soapbox, so this is great. I mean, I just want to say thank you, Jordan, for being who you are, and I really appreciate you.
You too, Matt. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for spending that hour. And as always, when we're ever communicating, I always enjoyed it, and I knew I'd enjoy this. I was very much looking forward to chatting with you again. It feels like an honor for me, honestly. Every time that we were able to talk felt like an honor, and I'm very grateful to you. So
I feel the same way.
So thanks for coming on. Appreciate you.
All right, Jordan. Thanks. We'll talk soon.
Are you still here listening to this podcast? You're awesome. I got 2 CTAs for you. Number 1, subscribe to this podcast for more. And number 2, have you ever thought about writing a book? Contact Jordan. He can help you out. Jordan@jmring.com.